Okay, so today we're making a military dish. SOS. That's what we're going to call it because I'm not sure I could call it by its military name on YouTube here. So its proper name is chipped beef. Now most of the time you use your leftover roast beef, leftover chunks of beef, but I like to use shaved beef because it cooks up better.
It's a beef on shingle.
And it's a little easier to chew. It's a little easier to chew. So I melt some butter into the pan, just enough to coat the bottom, and I stick the meat in. Now I'm using 2 packages, so about 3 pounds of beef. And we're just going to cook it up, and then we're going to let it cool so that it dries out a little bit. Because I'm not using leftover roast beef, I'm using fresh beef. And always, when touching raw meat, wash your hands before touching anything else. Right, Ember?
Uh-huh.
Now, when you're cooking your meat, you don't want to add any salt or pepper. This is supposed to be a very basic dish. It's very simple to make, and if I had the temperature up, it'd probably be cooking a lot faster. But I'm trying to time this out to have it ready at dinner time and not before, because I don't want a cold dinner. So you just cook it all the way through. And
Nice and brown.
yeah, nice and brown like this, right here. A little bit of golden splotches. Most difficult part is the cream sauce that goes with it, and that is later. So once your meat is fully cooked, you're going to turn off.
Like that.
Yeah, something like this. You're going to turn off the heat. You can leave the juice. You're going to use that for the sauce. That's just the beef stock. That's why we don't swing our arms. Are you okay?
I'll be right back.
If you want to salt, pepper this like you would a roast beef, that's fine. I'm just going to add the stuff to the sauce because the sauce is going to marinate this. And I'm using the juices from the meat to help flavor the sauce. So when this cools off and it dries out a little bit, I'll be able to flake it up a bit more, and we will be ready to go. On to the next step. Oh, and I almost forgot. If you're trying to make dinner on a budget, the shaved beef, they're $5 a pack where I am, which is the cheapest beef you can get. So, I mean, they sell them for Philly cheesesteak sandwiches, but I use them for just about everything else I need beef for. So it's got to cool off a little bit more, and I'm going to pull it a little bit. Not a lot. I want some big hunks, but I don't want it really big. I just want it like bite size. So, okay, so now we're going to be starting to make the sauce. And the first thing you want to do is you want to make your roux. Although the trick is to grind pepper in while you're melting the butter. That's where most of the flavor comes from. When you make your roux, this is 2 tablespoons of butter and about 5 grinds of the pepper. You melt your butter. Let's see if I can get in the pot without dropping my phone. Look at that. Okay, you melt the butter with the freshly ground pepper before adding your flour. Now I'm going to take you off while this melts, and I'm going to come back, and hopefully Ember will be manning the camera for me. Okay, so now that the butter has melted, I had 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of flour. And now I got to mix this quickly. I'm going to mix this quickly with the 2 tablespoons of flour until it becomes a solid.
It looks like porridge.
And it smells like almonds with pepper. That's how you know you got a good roux. And without letting it burn, you're going to pour in milk.
And now I know we don't have a lot, so we might not have any left.
careful. And you're going to reduce the heat down to a simmer. Ember?
I think I just got some hair off me.
And now this is when you season it. We're going to get some salt, and we're going to add in some salt. We're going to add in, we already have our pepper, so we're going to add in some garlic powder. And that's it. Very simple. So we'll be right back with the spices. So Ember's adding in the garlic powder. Don't be shy. Get it in.
Senor, get in!
Okay, that's good. Get some salt. You want about enough salt to get the flavor through. Now, all of these spices are all up to you. If you want more pepper, you want it saltier, you want it garlickier, that's fine. That's good. We added the salt. We give it a quick little mix. And then we let it warm up. And I'm going to taste it and adjust the spices. And now to thicken it up, you can add more flour. You could add cornstarch, whatever you want. See, this is kind of thin. You want a nice, thick, goopy sauce. So I'm going to have Ember add in another tablespoon of flour. But you want to add it slowly once it heats up. And pardon my dirty stove if you're seeing it. I'm going to try and cut that out. Woo! As you can see, I'm a messy cook.
That's how all cooks are supposed to be. So it's supposed to look like a little bit more like slime than more like a milk smashed potatoes.
Yeah, kind of like when you let your chicken stock kind of chill and it gets solidified and it's kind of jelly.
Mom, why don't you just let them have a quick look at what's next to it?
Okay. You're gonna need a little more flour. Put in another spoon of flour. And then I'm gonna get a whisk and I'm gonna beat out these clumps.
Whisk, whisk, whisk.
Don't get the spoon wet because that's going in the bag. Okay. Now that's more the consistency that I want. Now you see the whisk breaks up the clumps of flour.
So bad.
You're not stealing a piece of the meat. Look at the meat. Just sitting there.
That's Daddy.
And we're... you could also add cornstarch if it's not thickening up enough for you.
But I don't think we have cornstarch.
We do have cornstarch. It just gives it a slightly different flavor.
Cost.
Yeah, slightly different taste. Okay.
So, Mom, do you want to tell them the backstory of how we know this?
Well, this was my grandfather's favorite dish when he was in the Army. And my grandmother learned how to cook it for him. And it's very, very good. It's a cheap...
And it's good with corn.
It's really good with peas. Ember likes it with corn. I think it goes better with peas, but...
Corn.
That's all
Corn.
a preference for you guys. Okay, so now that we're starting to get the consistency, I'm going to switch burners. I'm going to put the meat up here, and I'm going to put this in. And that is your basic SOS. However, I'm going to spice it up a little bit later.
We're just going to pour it on top.
I'm taking my creamed sauce and just pouring it over the meat.
Hi, Daddy.
Pouring it over the meat and letting it stew. And then I'm going to add sour cream to thicken it up and mix it around and get it delicious. And we will be back for the final result, which we're going to serve over some toasted bread. Now Ember's going to add the secret ingredient, which makes it creamier and thicker. Put 2 of those in.
secret ingredient is the best.
So, what we had was the original, and what we have now
Is mine and my mom's version.
is a newer version. So we're just going to mix this in and start toasting up the bread and getting everything ready.